and this breaks my heart. I got a grant that I stumbled across. I mentioned I was a Republican, and I'm a Republican activist. I'm about reform in my party, so I'm not very well liked by the establishment in Massachusetts. But the heck with them. I replaced half the state committee last year, and I'm going to do it again in a couple of years. So, the man who calls himself the general counsel for the Mass GOP is an environmental lawyer, an old Bush crony, and has his name on this grant application. And in this, of the 4 primary resources he wants to bring to the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, is Agenda 21 in ICLEI. They're in our grant applications, and they're the conduit into your town. It's the regional guys. Let's go back a quick little, I heard this gentleman talking about the Constitution when I came in, and that immediately relaxed me. Let's look at a couple of things that we have here and relabel them. All right, we've got these public-private partnerships we've heard so much about. That's this glorious relationship between government and the private sector to do great things for the world. Right? And then we have this top-down strategy. I mean, what do you have when you have an apex council and a whole bunch of other councils and committees and commissions? These are unelected bureaucracies I'm talking about. I'm not talking about offices that you can be elected into, that the voters can get to you if they need to. I'm talking about regional planning commissions, for example. Land trusts with their board of directors in allegiance to their mission statement. See, the regional planner's got a mission statement. It has not got nothing to do with the thing that every public servant raised their hand and swore an oath to when they sat down for their office. Well, I submit to you, when you have an Amway-styled bureaucratic dragnet of policy that comes from the top down upon the people, you have a Soviet system.
No, fascist. Fascism is better term.
Well, fascism is...
Who's giving the trust? Where's the money coming from?
The public-private partnership is the fascism.
It's a corporate government, it's fascism.
Yes.
I got one other question. Historically, if you look at American land ownership, back from the colonial days, I mean, there were people, old families who would own large amounts of property, and then they sold them off or broke it up. As an environmentalist, have you looked at it, the legal aspect from a historical aspect, the issue of how land ownership has changed? Because it looks like we're going from people owning property to corporations who have bought out the government. Have you studied this? Could you elaborate on that?
What you described generically is very correct. It started out with a few landowners with very large parcels. What is most problematic is that we have a Department of the Interior to manage federal land. And I mentioned earlier, the Constitution gave them 10 miles square, and they should be lucky they got it. I do not think that the federal government, look what happened when they got involved with the Grand Canyon. That no longer is American soil. Did you know that? It's an international biosphere. If you go around the back of the main building, you'll see a little plaque on the ground. It's an international biosphere controlled by the UN. That's why you got to pay $50 to go and look at the bottom of your own Grand Canyon. And there's several of those in the United States.
Don't worry about it, it's closed.
Yeah, well, we should be reopening them. If it's closed, there shouldn't be anyone there to kick us out, right?
The power, they control everything. The big international corporations control the UN, they control the large corporations, they work together behind the scenes.
That's why we have got to re-educate our public servants. I have been telling my colleagues we've got to change the way we review at the local level. All right, we know these public-private partnerships. Let's look at some of them. A few months ago, the same land trust introduced to my selectmen, we have got to jump on board with a forest legacy program. The feds are on board, the land trust coalition is on board, and we need to create this corridor. And we'll talk more about a corridor between us and Connecticut and Massachusetts. Well, they come in, they say, it's 911. Code red, got to save our forests. And I said, okay, let's slow down, please, selectmen. let's not sign anything tonight, let's let Conservation review this. So Conservation did. Grow Brundtland, she was on this page here about publication details for the Northeast area. Anyone know who Grow Brundtland is? Former Prime Minister of Norway. She served on the World Health Organization, I believe the Secretary on the World Health Organization for the UN for a number of years. And she's the Vice President of the International Socialist Party. Well, I started kicking up some dust. Good thing I took a screenshot of this, because it disappeared when I started pointing this out. That we got a socialist, not a socialist, the socialist, pushing land use policy in the town of Ware. So I dug in some more and I saw they got a Sustainable Forest Roundtable. They have regular meetings. In the Montreal process is the International Consortium is going to create the language that harmonizes forestry across the globe. Okay. I'm looking at who the public-private partners are and some of the international ones that are here. And lo and behold, the World Bank. I do a little more digging around and wouldn't you know, I found a report from the World Bank to the, from the United States to the UN discussing how the World Bank and Agenda 21 have been proceeding. And what was nice about this document, it would have Chapter 1 of Agenda 21, synonymous with Chapter 3 and 4 of the World Bank report. And they went right through. The Farm Bill. We let the monster in the door with the Farm Bill.
Safety